welcome to Real Estate and Then Some Show. My name is Carlton Prophet, your host, and you're also joining us on UrbanSmartNetwork.com. That's the place you need to come to check this podcast if you want to see us live. Also, welcome those watching us on Facebook, Instagram Live, Spotify, all the places that you find your podcast. Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, for real. Again, my name is Carlton Prophet. I am the head of this show, not the head of, I'm the one talking about the real estate portion. I'm a licensed
big head of the show, yeah.
Anyway, people always bugging us. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm the head of this show. And at the same time, my job is to educate all those who may be renters into trying to teach them how to get their own home. And for those who may have owned a home in the past, also let you know if you ever have anything bad happen to you, like a foreclosure or bankruptcy or BK, short sale, you can own it again, okay? Some people believe that you cannot own a home after having such one of those bad things happen and become lifelong renter. That is not true. Please, if you got any questions, a number will come through the screen. Just give me a call. It's like, hey, call 101. I'll get up this house. I guarantee I got you. As always, I'm always short, but my guests, just me and it's just the fellas holding it down today because we hold it down like that. I'm joined by my man, my dude, Mr. Roman Crispin. Talk to him, my brother.
Hey, the media world. How you guys doing? This is Roman Crispin. 30 plus years in executive line of work in the corporate America. Lifelong friend of Mr. Carlton Prophet. His mama paid me to be his friend, but we'll talk about that another time.
Wow. Okay. Some people. Anyway, thanks again for joining us today. As always, we're always joined by our sponsors. Today's podcast is brought to you by Prophet Properties and A Day on the Bay. A Day on the Bay is a boating service. It's your trip to a tour of the Chesapeake Bay. Go to places like Annapolis, Kent Island, Riva, Downsville, all the cities that's close by, Edgewater, where we pull up the dark bars and things of that nature. We also go out to do shopping at Annapolis, or we might spend a day on the beach at Sandy Point or over at Kentmore Beach, craft houses, things of that nature. So it's a good way to go out and spend 2, 3, 4 hours. Anybody, again, interested in getting out COVID-free and they want to come out on a boat, which I think is a great time because you have no problems when you're on the water. Something about the water just calms you. You don't have any problems. Give me a call at the numbers that come above on the screen, and I'll be glad to get you in for a tour. Today, we're talking about real estate and stuff you need to do to get ready for buying a home. I will apologize earlier. I had my colleague, one of my loan officers, couldn't make it today to the last minute due to a traffic accident. So I will just, we're going to hope that everything turned out all right. I'm sure that they'll join us next week. So therefore, but I'm like a loan officer as well. I know a lot of the same stuff that the loan officer, a good real estate agent will know the same stuff that a loan officer knows. So I think we can have this conversation. And Mr. Crispin is an avid homeowner himself, has owned 3 or 4 houses in his lifetime, investment properties, as well as primary residence. So he knows his way around the table when it comes to, getting the house and what to look for. Although I'm probably the best real estate agent he ever had because I put him into his latest and greatest house. And as
most precious one yet. I agree. Most precious one yet.
So, as we get started, let us get forward. Today, we're going to always start with a Black History fact. Today, we're talking about Benjamin Davis Sr. For those who may know, he's the first African-American general. Benjamin O. Davis Sr. Please look him up if you get a chance to. First African-American general in the United States Army. A little bit about the man. He was born and raised in Chicago, and he also graduated from Howard University in Washington, D.C., where I happen to be at right now. So anybody, all these Tower graduates, I love, He also was in the Spanish-American War. He is part of the Buffalo Soldiers that I know you have heard of as well. Very smart guy, very smart guy. He started his military career by being a volunteer, volunteer. He liked the rigid lifestyle of the military. He felt that you needed discipline and felt that was the best way for him to be able to move up the ranks and to move up the ranks as we did. After he finished his volunteer, he enlisted and worked his way up from, the various wars all the way up to a general. So, and he was doing this in the 1940s when it was not a good place to be in the military for African-American men, you know what I'm saying, in the 1940s and 30s at that time. That's the fact that he came in. Matter of fact, his son, same name, Benjamin O. Davis Jr., also became a general. He became the second general after his father was the first, okay? So it's definitely in the family there. Great man, Benjamin O. Davis Sr. Make sure y'all check him out, Google him. I think I do a lot on Black history as an African American. I think it's we should know as much about the greatness of our people as anybody. So I'm always I'm a history major for those that don't know it as well. Shout out to Dillard University, where I went to school at in New Orleans, DU in the house. I have a host of schools in Maryland, DC area I went to. We're not gonna shout those out. Before I got serious about schools, I was a traveler. I went through many schools. Okay.
Does that suggest you've been kicked out of a few?
Truthfully, I've never been kicked out of a school. Even in junior high and high school, I've never been kicked out of school. I've never been suspended. Truthfully, people have a hard time believing I've had in-school suspension, but I've never been kicked out of school.
Well, I know you've been kicked out of classes. I was in one of your classes when Ms. Stark kicked you out.
Well, I don't like to be around idiots sometimes, and then sometimes I'm forced when I'm around people like yourself. I get forced to, No, but I've never been suspended or I've had in-school suspension. I guess you could call that. Yeah, I don't know. You might. I got in a fight in junior high, I think, and what was that?
You called that a fight?
No, I think it was elementary. That was probably before I met you. I got a fight in elementary school. And I think I was in the 5th grade. And as a punishment, guy's name was Drew. And as a punishment, they made me stay. I had the in-school suspension, so I had to stay in school. But I went to school, so I didn't have to go home per se. But I had to stay in a room, isolated, and right next to the attendance lady all day. Couldn't speak to nobody. It was torture. So that was
I thought you were referring to the shoving incident that I recall back in the day.
The who?
A shoving incident where you shoved somebody, they shoved you back. I forgot the dude's name, but we could talk about that offline later.
Nah, okay. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would anybody want to shove Carlton? Nah.
Let me count the ways.
But I know Roman's been suspended quite a few times, so I'm not going to his history there.
Never. I was a teacher's pet, so never.
That you was. We hated Roman because of that. This dude was aggravating. Why are you on my show, dog? For real. Anyway. So let me get back to the real estate portion of this. We'll get back to this later on. Shout out to those of you seeing me on Facebook. I want to say what's going on to all y'all out there. Get to your questions. Thanks for tuning in. I love each and every one of y'all. I really, really do.
Out here with my girl, Tawana. Tell everybody, Tawana, about a day on the bay.
Yes, a day on the bay is great. Everyone should take a trip to Carlton. He's a great tour guide. You got to get out here.
What she just said. Y'all be easy.
As we go today, a question I get a lot of this. Hey, Carlton, you're in real estate. I'm tired of being in this house. I'm tired of paying rent. I get one of these calls at least twice a week. And I've been a realtor going on 20 years. So you know how many phone calls I've gotten that related strictly to the subject. And I tell them at the same time, I say, well, it's a couple things. You need to get your scores up. When I mean your FICO scores. A good FICO score is anything above a 640, 660 right now. It used to go down to as low as 580. I can get you in at 580. But as times get tougher as they are right now with this pandemic and people being delinquent on their loans, a lot of the banks are strengthening their requirements to get a house, and therefore they have raised the score. So now you're talking about 640, 660 or above. And they want to be able to see that your debt to income ratio is cool. Now going a little bit later what the DTI is. But the first thing I think we do is make sure your scores up. Also, they're going to ask you where you plan on getting the money, because unless you're doing a 100% loan, which is either like a VA loan or a what we call a USDA rural loan for outlying areas, those are the only two loans I know of that where you can get a 100% loan. And they got some banks that have some private loan, 100% loans as well, but they're not very common. So you have to come up with at least 3.5% is the cheapest way, okay? Well, they're going to ask where that money's coming from. So, you're looking at a $200,000 house and you time 3.5%, you're looking at somewhere around $10,000, $11,000. And they're going to say, hey, where's that money coming from? So they kind of want to see that. So make sure you have some money in the bank. Now, you can get what's called a down payment assistance program where they give you the down payment. Again, most of those programs are directly related to how good your score is. The better your score, you can get it. A lot of them are grants, and when the money runs out, sometimes that's it for a while. They still have some right now, but you have to have your scores and things in order. I always say give yourself some time. If you want to move in January, you might want to start looking in June, July, okay? Yeah, 6-7 months ahead of time. Why? Because it might be something on your credit report that might be erroneous. The credit bureau is not very good at assigning the right bill to the right person with somebody with a similar name, okay? They look at it, John Johnson, they're going to see the first John Johnson they see, okay? Somebody has a common name. Like, they make mistakes, people. It's probably 20% of the stuff that's on the credit wrong. It could be wrong. But some things take a little calm. It's not just calling them and say, this is not my debt. Sometimes they say it is your debt. Sometimes you have to go through it. Sometimes it might not be a debt you try for. You know how we are, Roman. Sometimes our parents will put stuff on our name, and that got delinquent, and then that's following you, and you had no idea they used you for the cable back in 1995. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, hey, that is a legal charge. You can say, hey, my mom put me on it, this and that, but it's your name. It's your social security number. So that to them, that's a legal debt, okay? Yeah, they might take it off, they might not, but sometimes you need time to make sure that happens. And sometimes you don't have that time if you come in with 2 months left and before your lease is up and you got 2 months. Well, call me, I got 2 months. Had you did this in June, we can get this done. That's why I always say take your time, okay? Make sure you give yourself 4, 5, 6 months ahead of time, okay? I had a lady recently call me. Go ahead, Roman.
No, I was going to share an example to illustrate your point and how important it is. I remember my brother Evans, who owned a loan someplace. Evans. He was signing loans and getting credit on stuff and had never had any intention of paying them off. So he had moved out of our house, and someone was looking to serve him some papers so they can take him to court. And the guy come banging on my door real hard on early Saturday morning. So I opened the door. We out partying on Friday night, waking up. Somebody knocking on my door as early as 9 o'clock in the morning. I was pissed. Opened the door. Was very rude to the guy. He was like, "Are you Evans Crispin?" I'm like, "No, he doesn't live here anymore." He's like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Roman." Next thing you know, he wrote my name down, dude, and that was the last I thought about it. Time I was going to buy my first house, see. I saw this. I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. I saw this. I got to thank the loan officer when we were going to that process of getting approved. Reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you have an alias?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, we have a loan that's attached to you that's in default. That it's under Evans Roman Crispin."
Oh, that
no, the dude put Evans, aka Roman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was never on my name, but this guy, when he came to serve the summons, because I told him my name is Roman, he thought I was lying. And I said, because my name was Roman, he thought I was really Evans and put AKA. So I had to go through a bunch of stuff to get that damn loan out of my name.
Right. But those who don't know, Roman's brother and me, that's my other buddy. He's been dead for some years now, but that's my dude. Him and Roman are opposite. I loved Evans, you know what I'm saying? But on the same time, when it comes to Roman, Roman's different. Roman's always been that he would do the same thing. I don't want to say he was like a square or nothing like that. He did the same thing we did, but we got in trouble. He never got in trouble, ever.
Roman never got in trouble.
I've been around a lot of people, and when I go to their houses, you know, we go out to play, there's always somebody, oh, he can't come out to play because he's in trouble, or he didn't do his dishes, so he's in trouble, he can't come out and play. I've never had that with Roman. Roman always, he never got in trouble. But anyway, that's enough of the story about that. Okay. So yeah, by all means, always give yourself extra time, because if you do that extra time, it will help you out. I want to say hi to what's up to Miss Janetta Estes, who's watching us out there in Ohio, if I'm correct. What's up, Janetta? How you doing, my love?
What's up, Janetta?
Yes, right. Roman's here as well. I also got my man Wenzel, Mr. X. What's going on, sir? Out there in Vegas. I'm trying to get up there and see you, bruh. Matter of fact, I got your buddy here staying with me this week, Doc's in town. So I'm gonna definitely give you a call after this show, so we can all catch up. You know what I'm saying? But back to everyone. Yeah, if the more times you give yourself, the better it off on that. Okay. Besides making sure you have a down payment, make sure your score is straight. We have something what's called a DTI. It stands for your debt to income ratio. Debt to income ratio is they want to make sure you can afford the house. Okay, let's assume your house is $400,000. Okay, and you can afford it on paper. Okay, but it's more than just affording it on paper. They want to make sure that you can provide, pay for the gas that you might use in there, or the electricity that you're going to have with the house, or you might have kids and you got to feed your family. They don't want you being so poor that you can only pay the mortgage and nothing else. They just want to make sure it's a cushion there, okay? So even if you can qualify and it's tight, they might not give you that qualification because there's no room there. There's nothing to do. So therefore, that's called a DTI. Those are the major things you got to make sure. And your DTI needs to be at least at 50% or less, okay? But, it's different things. You was about to say, Roman?
Yeah, and if I can add to that, to your debt to income ratio, one thing I know, they Carlton's point, they only specifically are focusing on what you owe. So if you have kids that are attending private school, that's a month-to-month decision based on your what you decide, whatever their tuition is.
Right.
So, because they know that that's not a debt that you're binded to. You could walk away from that anytime. So all they're going to worry about is what you actually owe, not what you can get out, like your cable bill and all that good stuff. It could be $200 today, but they know you have the flexibility to reduce that bill to $50 to be able to afford this mortgage.
Right. Yeah, it's so important. Especially what hurts my heart is most when someone comes in and they really are really tired of renting, and they want to go ahead and try to buy a house, and something was wrong that they had they used enough time, we could have easily fixed it. It's nothing we could do. And I hate to say, well, come back in 6 months or come back in a year or something like that. Or I'm going to have to ask them to break their lease, which is going to cost them more money. Because when you break a lease, you have to pay to get out that lease. Okay. And, buying a home can be expensive. Like I said, you might have a $10,000 down payment just to get into the house. Still, one of the best things you can do is when you get that money back in terms of taxes and things of that nature. So buying a house is probably one of the safest investments you can buy in your lifetime. Anybody ever have questions and want to know more about the situation of buying houses and what's the advantages and disadvantages, I would gladly tell you this. Here, just give me a shout out on social media or whatever. You see my numbers up there, and I'll talk about houses all day long. So as we go on, the process is this. So once they get their stuff straight, they'll come to me and say, "Hey, Carlton, I'm ready to get a house." And so they can come in with their own loan officer, or I have a loan officer I have them for them. I love working with people that I want to go through my loan officer. I know my loan officer can close. I know they can close on time. If there's a problem, they'll tell me before it happens. I don't know that with other loan officers. I work with them, but it's a million loan officers. Not all loan officers are the same. Okay, you don't know if this guy does this for a regular or this is his first loan he's working on is yours. So he might not know a lot of stuff that you can do a little back doors. So I don't like working with new people. So people come in with new pay. I try to sway them to go to mine. My guy, and I'll give them reasons. Sometimes my guy will match whatever their guy is giving them, so they don't lose anything. Sometimes you don't have that choice. Hey, my cousin did my work, and that's who I'm going with. Hey, I guess your cousin is. I will talk to the cousin. I will make sure he's competent. I will make sure that he knows what he's doing, because my livelihood is tied to whether this guy can close a loan or not. I don't care. He's your cousin. He's not my cousin. So therefore, I'm going to try to make sure that he is what he is. And if he's not, again, I'm going to try to sway you again. Okay. Sometimes if it don't, and they just insist on working with him, and the guy's an idiot or something like that, I won't work. I say, hey, well, I'm not the realtor for you. I would never turn down business. I think I've done that. I've had like 3 or 4 clients I've had to turn down in my, 20-year career of people I chose not to work with. And for the most part, I did most of the right thing. One young lady, I wish I had not turned her down. Her request wasn't as bad. I think it was my ego more than anything else. I used to flip homes, and when I flipped homes, when you flip homes, you're not very active selling homes at the time. You just worry about your home you're in, and so the money that one can make is a whole lot better when you're flipping than it is when you're not, compared to being a realtor. And I was feeling myself for a reason. I didn't really want a client at the time, and she's like, I just want to put my house on the market. I want to put it at this price. I did the work, and her house wasn't at that point. But instead, I told her, like, hey, no, we're not going to list it here. We're going to list it here because this is what the comp say it should be listed here. And she's like, no, I want my house to be here. I know what it is. I got certain upgrades, blah, blah, blah. I want to list it here. And we going back and forth. And I found that's like, hey, I'm not the realtor for you. You know what I'm saying? Let's go someone else. I wish I had tried to sell it. I wish I would have gave her a shot at what she wanted it. But at the time, I think I was like 4 or 5 years in the real estate. I didn't know what I was knowing now. So, we're still cool and as friends. She understood. But like I said, I will always try to get you toward my loan officer. That's the point there. And he's going to ask for your tax returns. He's going to ask you for how much you're looking to pay. He's going to see how long you've been at your job. He's going to see what your weekly take home is. And he's going to keep doing this. One thing he's going to do, even though he might find out, he might always ask you every single week for a paycheck stub. And if the paycheck stub, are the same, he doesn't question it. But if it's something different, like one time this guy worked 72 hours instead of 80. And so the guy's like, hey, I noticed a couple of weeks ago it said 72 hours. Can you explain to me why that's 72 hours? Because the bank wants to know, is this a common thing? And the guy was actually sick for a day, and he's like, he didn't go to work that day, blah, blah, blah. But if you see the rest of the stuff, it's on. The bank wants to make sure that if they give you a loan, that you're going to pay this back no matter what, okay? Doesn't mean I lost my job. They still want that payment at the end of the month, okay? You had a baby, congratulations. You know what I'm saying? I hope you named it after us, Chase or Wells Fargo. But you do know the payment's due on the first of the month, okay? So that is they do not care. Now, if you do get in trouble situation, there are ways where you can call the bank and say, hey, I'm having a hardship. I got laid off and my wife had a baby or whatever the situation may be. And there are sometimes for them to work with you, and sometimes they can, put it on the backside, which means, put it at the end of the loan. There are ways. But again, one thing you want to do is never miss a payment, okay? Missing a payment is probably one of the worst things you can do. Okay. So then after we get all of this situation together, the loan officer work on his job, and his job to see is what price point that you're at. My job is once he tells me, hey, Roman's approved for $400,000. My job is to take Roman and his wife, significant other, whoever it was, and take them looking for a house at that price point in the area he wants to be in. While if we find a house, then we're under contract. Okay. But what can they do? Just make sure that you got all that information available, because he might ask you for them tax returns, okay? He might ask you for an extra year. If you own your own business, he's looking for profit and loss statements, okay? He's looking for stuff that's want to give a great picture to the underwriter, who is the one that determines whether you get this loan or not. And you never see the underwriter. We can't call them. We can't have no type of influence over whatsoever. And so they'll look over and they'll come, and if they have a question, they'll go ask the loan officer, okay? The loan officer is like the middleman of the transaction. So, make sure that you have all your paperwork, and then less things can go wrong. Shout out to my cousin T out there, to Florida. How you doing, my dear? So as we move on for that, then you go, once you find a house, you got about 30 days. It's what we call way under escrow. And therefore is they're checking to make sure there's no liens on the house. A lien is something that someone owes to the house. So if you got like a bank loan from somewhere, okay, and you haven't paid it off, that bank loan becomes a lien. That means they have a lien against that house, the more common of the house. You want to make sure the house is free of liens, okay? Or you don't have any liens, because again, the bank wants to make sure they get their money first. They don't care about who else you owe. They want their money first. And so therefore they want to know everybody that you owe money to. And if you owe money to, hey, then we know the situation, what's going on. Okay. So that's basically how the start of the process goes to getting a home. In this type of market, it's super hot, so everything goes super fast. So it's not a good time to be a buyer right now. It's probably a bad time because there's so few houses available for these buyers out here. Sellers are loving it because every house is getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over price. Okay, I just put on a house on the market over in Arizona today, Maricopa. 2,200 square foot house, 300,000. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably get by the end of tomorrow. I'll probably have 20 offers on the house. Probably looking at $20,000 to $25,000 over list price. Okay, that's how hot the market is. Anybody interested in this house? Let me know. I'll definitely send you some pictures and things of that nature. Okay. Roman, any questions here today on about the real estate, sir?
No, well, I just when you were talking about when it goes to the underwriting and all that good stuff, and you go to the credit process. I know one thing I learned through that process is once they're going through the background check of what you have in your bank, try not to make any huge transactions within your bank, because they're gonna be looking through that with a fine tooth comb. So any abnormal activity in your bank that you show, if you're depositing a large sum of money and it comes out of nowhere, they're going to question you about it. If you're taking a large sum of money out, they're going to question you about it. So you got to make sure you keep things consistent.
Yes, that's a lot of people don't realize that if you got any large amounts of money being moved 90 days before you're closing, that's a red flag. 120, because they're looking at those bank records. Can you tell me about this large deposit of $12,000 6 months ago? And you need to explain that, because we need to know where that came from. If it came from your 401k, then we need to know that.
Right.
Any type of large money and they will deny your loan if their answer is not satisfactory. Oh, we went to Vegas and won it. You got any receipts showing you went to Vegas and won that?
Yeah.
They would ask that type of question. You're like, well, I don't have to show that to nobody. And you're right, you don't. And we don't have to grant your approval for a home. And anybody that's doing your bank out there is going to look for that. So you got to be careful about any large deposits and things of that nature. Okay, these banks are not playing with it right now, not at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I do have a question for you, Steve. So I know you've mentioned that in this environment things are moving rather quickly. So how quickly are closing? The closing process is happening now versus like 4 or 5 years ago when you helped me buy my home. Well, you didn't help me buy it.
It's actually gotten a little. I'm hearing that feedback again. It's actually gotten a little slower because of what's going on with the pandemic. It's not that many people in the office right now. So therefore, the stuff that usually takes minutes to get back to us is taking days. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people are not there. The appraisers and people like that, the inspection people to go out to these houses, they're being so stretched, so thin right now because there's a lot of demand for them. So therefore, what used to take 1 or 2 days is now taking a week. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Things is going longer. But like some people, there are a lot of cash buyers out there. Cash buyers, one thing about cash buyers, they want to close quickly. And what sellers like closing quickly. We can be done with this process in 2 weeks. So you don't have to use a lot of the people. When you do a cash deal, the closing cost is so much cheaper because you don't have to, there's no finances to go around. The biggest part of closing costs is finance. Well, your finance is good because you have a check. So therefore, a lot of stuff that they will ask you to make sure with money coming from things of that nature are not doing that in a cash transaction. And let's be safe. You can't come to a closing with a wheelbarrow full of money, okay? Or a shoebox full of money, okay? You cannot come. That money has to be accounted for, okay? You cannot come in there and get them $100, $200, $300, $400,000 and say, here you go the house. It doesn't work like that. They're going to ask you, because they want that money coming in the form of a check, cashier's check, or wired from your institution to their institution. That's how it goes here. The days of you coming in with this money in cash, they don't know where that come from. And if they don't know where that money come from, they will not take it. Okay, because no one wants to get caught up in a money laundering scheme. Okay, or you helping someone out in a situation like that. That's what that leads to. So a large cash deposit, people think drugs or things of that nature because they think, where is this guy getting this type of money from? Okay, so those days are gone. They used to do a lot of that in the 70s and 80s and early 2000s, but not in 2020, 2020, 21, not happening. Okay, but I'm gonna digress from this. But anybody that wants to have any more questions about getting out your home, you're serious about getting out this rental, you're tired of being a rental, and it's no better time to buy a house. Period. If you can get one, I say go for it. I mean, and I think it's going to be like this for at least for the next year. It's a little hard, but it's worth the process. So make sure you get at me, call me if you have any questions whatsoever. I'm happy to hear you at all time. Again, this segment is brought to you by Profit Properties and A Day on the Bay. Look up hashtag A Day on the Bay. We do it all. We do tours of the Bay, and I would love to have all my viewers that's watch me on this come to join me out there. So, find me on all the social media numbers. Matter of fact, Mr. Crispin, you don't think you'll join me on the boat? Is that something you're trying to say, bruh?
Do you have your license now?
Yeah.
All right. You got a life jacket?
You can't drive the boat without a life jacket.
Well, I know that's what you're not supposed to do, but I know you. I mean, have you stopped taking shortcuts in life?
I don't take shortcuts. I was just good at doing whatever I would do. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Anyway. I would be there. You forgot last year I got into a little bit of an accident that kind of kept me from doing a lot of things over the summer.
Oh, gotcha. I remember. The time the wife hit you upside the head with the pan. I remember very well.
Wrong person, dude. Wrong person.
The Civil Rights Act of 1866, wherein you and I, as descendants of chattel slaves, was granted a super federal citizenship, whereby these things that we suffer in our communities from 402 years of unjustified, unrectified injustices, we can now rectify that. We can now get on the offense. We can now get on the good foot forward. We can now get away from responding to narrating the directive of ourselves and of this country. Learn this message. You can go to Urban Smart Network, USN, urbansmartnetwork.com.
Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
I want to get into this discussion today. I'm kind of mad Miss Jones is not here, but I think we as men, we can handle this.
Throw it at me.
And Facebook, help me out, man. I'm trying to find out if I'm wrong in this situation. All right. So the other day, I'm at the marina with a buddy of mine, and he had his girlfriend with him. And so they asked me if I wanted to eat with him. I was like, yeah, I got to go somewhere, but I'll follow you over to the restaurant anyway. That's to show you where it was at. So it's cool. I followed over to the restaurant. We get there, and they get out the car, and I'm still a little lag behind. I'm getting ready to turn on my car, but they could hear my music playing from outside the car. Mm-hmm. So I open the door, and the girl says, "Oh, I didn't know you listen to trap music." And she didn't say that like she said like it was something wrong, like I wasn't supposed to be listening to the music that I was listening to. And I didn't feel like I need to tell her the reason why I'm listening to the music that I'm listening to. I mean, who is she to tell me this term? You know what I'm saying? And so I said something. I didn't say nothing. I said I listen to it all day, every day, which I don't, but I told her I did. And it went from one ear and out the other, but it stuck with me. And so I was like, man, am I supposed to explain what I do as a person? So I had a question. So is it all right for people to be listening, people, my age, 40s, 50s, you know what I'm saying, to be into listening to music that I feel that I grew up in or dress like a certain situation or for one woman, should should I care that a 50-year-old woman is listening to Cardi B? You know what I'm saying? Or Megan Thee Stallion? You know what I'm saying? is that wrong? What should we put on that, my bro?
Hell no, it's not wrong, dude.
Okay.
It's, so first of all, we both are in the age, or most of our friends are in the age group. We have teenagers for children, right? And
Correct.
that's clearly the type of music they listen to. And to some degree, part of being a good parent is being aware of what your children are listening to, right? So even for me, that was one of the reasons why I listened to trap music. But at the end of the day, I love the music. At the end of the
I think because we grew up in the era that we did, we 80s babies, you know what I'm saying? We grew up in that era. And so much happened because of, but it was just the amount of people that we knew that's the name of this drug, that we knew a lot of people when we went to school that sold drugs or came up in that era. So the music that they're talking spoke to us. And so we'll still listen to it, you know what I'm saying? Whereas when my child who is 17 right now, he might know the words, but he doesn't understand the meaning they mean by the song. I'm always pointing out, what did Jay-Z mean by this? What did 50 Cent mean by this? And he's looking at me like, oh, I didn't know he meant that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or I'll take out a slogan, something like a Lil Wayne would say something. And I was like, what did he mean by that? Like, I think I told him, he said, all G's should move in silence like lasagna.
Right.
And I said, what do you mean by all G's should be silent like in lasagna? He could not tell me what that meant. So I broke it down, with a G and lasagna is silent. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Then he come like, oh, I get it now. But before, he didn't pay attention to it, but it was just like over his head, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can have those type of moments with my child explaining what I'm listening to, you know what I'm saying? Because I get my chance to explain the turn on what he meant by this. But at the same time, I know a lot of people that have, gone that way, that dealt drugs, that went to jail, things of that nature, a good amount. I'm not talking one or two. I'm not trying to glorify the streets at the same time. But at the same time, that's my era. I identify. I really do. You know what I'm saying? I have a hard time identifying with the new school sometimes with Instagram like that. Because right now, Instagram seems like to be the most favorite medium for the younger folks. Everybody asks you for your IG now instead of asking for your telephone number. Let me get your IG, which might be a good thing because then I can look on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought the question was a jab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because her boyfriend, who was he went to school, I ain't gonna give his name, but he went to school with me and you as well, Ron. He listens to jazz in his car. But he's also was one of the biggest drug dealers my state has ever known. You know what I'm saying? At the same time. So, he comes over that same era, but he's a jazz. He's not that same guy he was. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But he listened to jazz, and then his girlfriend was like, maybe I should be listening. I guess she thought I maybe should listen to jazz like him. I don't know. I was kind of thrown by the question.
Yeah, and so for me, man, I think there's this notion that when you reach a certain age, a certain number, you're classified as being old. Mm. And to me, being old is about it's a mindset, right?
I agree.
It has nothing to do with a number. Because remember back when we were younger, when we used to try to holler at women, we were 19 years old, and we try to holler at a 25-year-old, they telling us how young we were, too young. Like, baby, age ain't nothing but a number, right? And now here we are in our 50s, we're still trying to tell people, hey, look, age ain't nothing but a number, right? So, we like good music, right? Whether the music came in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 90s, 2000, 2020, it doesn't matter to us. As long as the music, we can bop our head, we can feel it, we're going to like it. So I don't subscribe to people who, associate trap music as being something for the people in their 20s or younger.
Right.
I don't, that's just, I don't adopt to that because I don't consider myself old being 50, where many people our age, they often refer to themselves as being old.
Right. It's funny because of the boat business, a day on the bay, y'all, hashtag a day on the bay. I have a lot of the younger generations riding the boat with me. and they have me feeling not some type of way, but they are so different than me at that same age. You know what I'm saying? So I identify with them a lot. You know what I'm saying? And so I can see how they look at the world. And sometimes I'll try to look at the world through their eyes as well. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny seeing that coming from, you know, my perspective and seeing it there. I think, you know, the way we grew up, it was, you know, like we listened to the old school music as well. We listened to, you know, the OJs and, you know, Four Tops or whoever. You know, my parents played, you know, Motown in the house all on Saturday mornings when we got up and had to clean the house from top to bottom. And while you got Motown or Shep and the Limelight, my father was, you know, you know what I'm saying, people like that, you know what I'm saying. And I'm knowing these songs as well. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, it gave me a little a feather in my cap when I can tell I hear a song on playing on a radio or in a music or in a restaurant. I hear a song that's played, and I'm catching the song like, oh yeah, that's my song. They look, how do you know that song? I'm looking at them like, how you don't know that song?
Right, exactly. Well, it was like my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, the other day. Her friend was playing some song in the background when she was on the phone with her, and my daughter was like, "Oh my God, that's like one of my father's favorite songs right now that he's listening to." And she's like to my daughter, "What? Your father listens to our music?" She's like, my daughter's like, "What do you mean our music?" My father was, she said, she'll tell people. I introduce her. I say, "Hey, Kendall, have you heard this song yet by such and such?" She's like, Daddy, no, I haven't. So, you know, again, I think I hate being grouped in certain categories. Mm-hmm. And people often, especially when it comes to age, people often will group themselves, you know, in their 50s, they're considered old, you know, even when it comes to, you referenced dressing, right? So there's a quote unquote appropriate way or a certain way that people in the 50s should dress versus if you're in your 20s or 30s.
It's funny that a lot of people would say that, you know, like, because nowadays, it's like dressing for an interview. That's a better one. If I came in for an interview and I was just in some jeans or some ripped jeans, since everyone's wearing ripped jeans,
you're not getting the job.
Not getting that.
No.
What if you happen to look at my resume and you see that I'm very well qualified for that job?
Well, so part of your qualification would mean that you should know better or how to come to an interview, right? So common sense plays a role into whether into how you're being judged in the interview as well.
How about as well? Do they do this? When I went to school, shout out to Dillard University, by the way. I took a couple classes, and one of the classes that I would take, I forgot the name of it, excuse me for not knowing it, but they would show you how to, you know, what type of to wear when you go to interview, you know, so what colors, because, you know, red will signify power, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Foods not to eat, like never order chicken, you know, because chicken requires you to use your hand, and then once you're using the hand, it's hard for you to use a knife and fork when you eat a chicken leg, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they would say, you know, or don't order that, order these type, or do a salad or something like that. And I appreciated that because some of the stuff that you think it's easy now that you didn't really know, you know. I would order chicken if I really wanted chicken, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know they had fried chicken, I'm going to order that. But that might be not such a good choice. But do you play a part in that? I know sometimes interviews take place over dinner. So do you pay attention to if I can't hold my fork right?
Nah, not at all, dude.
Not like that?
I mean, no. So, I mean,
if I order a drink?
If you order a drink?
Right. What if I order?
I would think you're normal. I mean, it's not. I don't think people take that kind of detailed look into critiquing your action every step of the way. But if you're going to a dinner interview and you're meeting with some executive and you dressed in jeans with holes in them as if you're going to the club, nobody's going to take you seriously. They might not even sit down with you at dinner. They might just go ahead and, you know, cancel the dinner appointment. Mm-hmm. So you just got to use some common sense. If you want the job, right, you should know you're going to be coming to meeting someone who's going to be a decision maker. You got to dress appropriately. Put a shirt with a tie on and a coat.
For those of us, Roman is an expert in in the hiring process. He has hired thousands of people for jobs. He has interviewed, I can't even tell you how many people. He is an expert when it comes to getting people jobs. Years ago, when he was between jobs, I happened to listen to an interview. He was on a phone interview. I don't know if you remember. We were dropping your, I think your middle
Ocean City.
Yeah. And he just asked me. Ocean City is probably 3 hours from where I'm at in Washington, and he asked me to ride with him. He said, "I'm just gonna take my daughter back. You want to ride?" I hadn't been to Ocean City in a while. I was like, "Sure, I go." And on the way back, he said, "Hey, see, I got a phone interview coming up." So he was just telling me to put my phone on mute or something like that. And he had his headphones on. And he was going. So I happened to be listening to some of the questions. And at the time, Roman I don't know how long he was out of work for or something, but it came down to salary time. And she was asking you, were you good with a certain salary? I'm not going to put it out there, $3 an hour, was he going to, would he be willing to work for this amount of money? And the money that she said was a good amount of money. I thought that was an excellent salary. And Roman had been out of work for, I don't know, 6-8 weeks. I'm thinking he's not saying he was hurting for money or like that, but I'm assuming that he would take the job because now we you haven't had in a job 5-6 weeks, you know what I'm saying? Not that he would. And so he told him that he thought the salary was a little, I don't know his exact words, he said that the salary, or is that something you do? Do you just say like no, or do you try to negotiate over the phone? Like, no, I won't take that up, but I'll go between this number and this number.
Yeah.
I did that, and I was like, I looked at you like, are you crazy? You ain't got no job, and this asked you that you wanted this, and you told him like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Crazy thing.
Well, everything is negotiable, right? So most of the time, when people throw out a number for salary purposes, they know it's the start. And it's normally probably at the lower end of the spectrum. And I don't remember exactly how that phone call worked, but normally I like to tell the person who made the verbal offer, let me get a day or so to think it over, and I'll respond back in a day or two to let them know my thoughts. And then from there, I'll come back with a counter. I think that particular interview we're referring to, it was with a headhunter. It was a headhunter who had contacted me, and she had.
Explain what a headhunter.
I'm sorry.
Explain what a headhunter is.
A headhunter is a recruiter, essentially, basically, right? So headhunters normally hire for, I think, executive level positions, and they basically work for a company. They are hired by a company for them to find a position, to fill a position in a particular firm. And that headhunter contacted me about my credentials. And after we went through all of my qualifications, and she saw that I was qualified for the role, that's when we started talking about salary. Here's the salary range. Is that something? That would be the only reason why I would have responded the way I did, saying, sounds interesting, but no, it's been a little bit lower than what I was expected to make.
What? When you got the phone, I had a question. I was like, boy, are you crazy when you turn that down? Boy, you just asked me for $20. You said something. You said something I never forgot. And you say very few things that I never forget, but this is one of them. Everything else you say is worthless. You know what I'm saying? Going back to your football team, your love for the Redskins and things of that nature, I don't really listen to you because, they haven't. Anyway, it's not about that. You said, see, if I accepted a salary that I felt that was beneath me, I'm going to lose each and every time. And I didn't know what you meant by that. What do you mean you're going to lose? He said, every time I come for a promotion, everything is going to be based upon that initial salary that I took. You know what I'm saying? So if they come in $20,000 less, you know what I'm saying? My raise, they're not going to give me a raise that's going to make me go up to the top of the line. I'm going to always be behind that curve. And so, therefore, it's like a situation like I'm always going to be doing it. So you need to make sure. He said, so it wasn't what I'm normally used to getting. So therefore, I'm not going to wait for that just because I don't currently have a job right now. But I don't have a currently job right now not no fault of my own. I think your company had folded or something like that. I forget the circumstances.
I'll never undersell myself, because at the end of the day, your greatest power when you're negotiating for a salary for a new job is why you're negotiating before you accept that offer. And that's when you have the most power. Even when people make you an offer, and I've had this happen to me in the past, where a company has made me an offer and it fell below my salary expectations, but they came back, and after I made a counter offer, and they came back and said, listen, we can't go any higher than what we offered you, so it's either that or nothing. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's negotiate some benefits. I mean, what do you normally offer to your employees for vacation? I said, well, we'll get 2 weeks. All right, well, great. So before, in my last job, I was getting 4 weeks of vacation. Can I get 6 weeks? And what they typically will do, if they can't compensate you from the financial point of it, is they'll give you some extra fringe benefits. So vacation, instead of having 2 weeks, now I've earned 6 weeks. So
I hope y'all listening to me, to my crew out there. I see you out there, Shawnee. Thanks for joining me out there, love. Hey, Shay, I see what's happening, buddy. I hope some of y'all are taking some of these pointers. This guy here is the guy you need to talk to before anybody looking for a job. This is the guy y'all need to get in touch with. Get in touch with me. I know how to get in touch with Norman. He is an expert. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, he's not an expert at many things. He's not. But when it comes to negotiating the job or getting the job, I got some great friends that are in some powerful positions that know what they're talking about. So
yeah, I've seen hundreds, probably hundreds of thousands of resumes throughout my 30 plus years. So I can give resume advice. I've done resumes. I've done resumes for a few presidents of certain organizations who, so I'm used to seeing resumes. I can give you pointers about all those kind of things. And I can give you some great interview points.
Be it for business or pleasure, you can configure urbansmartnetwork.com to give you the most reliable social engagement. Think of urbansmartnetwork.com as the ultimate social networking headquarters that help you save precious time. Users have the option of creating a business or personal page that allows them to start an e-commerce business without any programming knowledge or marketing experience. Join urbansmartnetwork.com now, one of the fastest growing social media platforms.
I got one more little situation that I'm bringing up. It's funny because I just heard about the story the other day. And it's kind of funny about the situation. But I was talking to a young lady, and she was saying that, Carl, why is it that men cheat? And so I was like, you make it seem like it's only up to men to cheat. I know women to cheat just like men. I said, why is it a situation that, men is to the point that we cheat? And so she's like, well, that's y'all. We don't cheat out of our nature. That seems like y'all just cheat. You know what I'm saying? We have to be dragged into it, or we have to be messed over for us to cheat. And lies. And that's why I love Ms. Jones, that she was here to give me that female point of view. I know Roman's going to say what I believe. I'm not saying what I believe. We're going to go from a men's point of view. We don't have a female on our panel today. I know quite a few of y'all out there on the Facebook, and I can't read the questions all right now. Cause I get a sort of like a feedback when I'm reading from my phone and whatnot. So apologies. But what's your opinion on that, my bro?
Well, first of all, I think personally, I have no scientific evidence to prove what I'm about to say, but I believe women cheat more. Part of my belief, I really do, because men we just dumb. Right? It's expected of us to cheat.
Did you say?
Yeah, especially you, Carlton. But men in general, we're dumb, right? Because we're expected to cheat. Women are always. Society has made it clear men are going to always be the hunters, they're dogs. So they put that in women's heads, so they're always looking for any potential slip-ups by men. And excuse me?
I can't get over that. Said men are wrong. I just couldn't get over that little.
I mean, we are, dude, because we know our women will be suspicious of our every move, but yet we are stupid based on how we act. Women, on the other hand, and this is another reason why we're dumb. Most men don't typically suspect their women to cheat, right? So as a result, women use that to their advantage to get away with that constantly. And I know plenty of women in the past who have shared that information with me. You know, it's like remember the old stand-up by Eddie Murphy when he's talking about how his girl was going to take a girl's trip to Jamaica with her friends, and the whole time they were going to Jamaica, he's thinking about, damn, how many women he's going to be with while she's going to Jamaica. But in the meantime, she's doing her while she's in Jamaica.
Right.
Because he wouldn't dare think his woman is going to cheat on him, right?
I want to get one day. I don't know if we're gonna do on the show. I want to get a large cross audience one time. You know, I made like 25 women, and just get on some of these issues. Like we got a show for those that know one called Unleashed, about to be on Urban Smart Network. Come out in a couple of weeks. I think right now we're sometime in the middle of May and so Unleashed. We're gonna get into some of these saucier topics we're talking about right now. Make people squirm. You know what I'm saying? But we try to get to the truth of certain situations. You know what I'm saying? Let's bury some of these lies and some of these falsehoods, the narratives we got, some of these myths that we got going on both sides of the sex game. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, women and men, we invite them to this kind of forum that you're referencing. Unless we hide their face and disguise their voices, they will not be transparent with us. So keep that in mind.
We got Miss Jones. Miss Jones gonna be Miss Jones. I do know that.
Well, we do know, right?
You know what I'm saying? And so we start taking people for now. You know what I'm saying? Come on the show. We get, we'll come out there, put a regular person on the show and debate. You know what I'm saying? Get some hot topics going on here. You know what I'm saying? Not saying we can't do it, because I believe we can. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, Unleash is coming up in a couple of weeks. Check with me. Check on my social media. Check with me on Facebook, Instagram, the likes. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, sir.
Yeah. So make sure y'all check us out on Unleashed. That's going to be it. I don't even know the time, so I'll give you the dates and time as we get close to it. By the way, how many spade players we got out there? Because yours truly, Real Estate and Then Some is having a very own spades tournament. $1,000 to the winner. You know what I'm saying? For the winning couple. $100 a person getting in. A person, or $200 for a couple. We're going to have it as like a March Madness situation where the losers lose and go home, where the winners go on. I'm going to start with 32 teams. 16 teams. 30. I don't know if I'm 16 or 32, but we have teams. We playing at each other. I'm going to have my own rules, meaning those the house rules, you know what I'm saying? So our house rules might go, big joker, little joker, two spade, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and when you say couple, you mean a tandem team, not a man and a woman couple dating.
Two people. I mean, if you want to play, if you play best with your wife, that's fine. We have to come up with some type of thing where you can't have regular conversation. I was so good at one time when we was playing spades that we could be cheating, having regular conversation. You know what I'm saying? Ron, what you had for dinner last night?
Yeah, exactly.
Which meant play spades or play hearts. You know what I'm saying? So we could do it. It's hard to catch somebody cheating when they're having a regular conversation. So then we start having rules where, you can't even ask those type of questions. You know what I'm saying? Only thing I want to hear at the table is how many books you got. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to hear. But, some people started to blinking many times, and we know all that. I'm going to give out directions on what's going on. I think we're going to be, if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, I think we're having May 15th is the first spades tournament day. Winner will come away with $1,000. Runner-up will get your money back. We're having plenty of food, plenty of beverages, and I'm catering the food and everything like that. I'm finalizing the location right now, so I'll get that back to you. So it's just for all those spades players. When I went to college with some, shout out to Dillon University again, but I went to school with some people that play some cards. You know what I'm saying? I'm a card player. I grew up in a card playing family, though. I mean, not just spades. I'm a Midwest guy. I'm also a poker player. I'm a taunt. You name the game, I'm playing it.
You learned it when you were young, but then I really taught you when you got older.
Boy, please, man.
I taught you. Yeah, you remember them tournaments we used to have in my house?
I think we just had one at your house. What, last year? Didn't we?
No, that was a couple years ago. You talking about when? A couple years ago, my old house.
Yeah, right. We did.
Yeah, when you partnered with Jeremy. You remember how y'all was got in a fight? I had them ready to fight each other. Partner.
Here, 20 years. How you gonna be? I still get mad at people when they play the wrong card. I'm gonna hold that in. You know what I'm saying? We're playing here. It's just a game, Carlton. What do you mean it's just a game, dog? You know
it's never just a game.
Man, out of here. You know, I'm fighting people over the wrong card being paid out. You know what I'm saying? 2 years ago, before I played with who now is my ex. And anyway, let me not get in here. Anyway, it's time, people. It's time for us to go. I appreciate this. Let me get in here and thank all my sponsors going out. Make sure you check out #ADayOnTheBay, Profit Properties, of course, my real estate company. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Send me a message. Anybody want to get out of that house and seriously about trying to get into their own unit, I would love to help you. Give me a call. Doesn't matter where you are. I got affiliates that can help you buy houses all over the United States. Rom, you got something to say for the folks?
Just thanks again for listening. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you guys this same time next week.
Hey, okay. Y'all be easy. Talk to you. And make sure you see us every Wednesday.
UrbanSmartNetwork.com.